welcome back to Serendipity Intended. My name is Tracy Ann, and I am so glad that you are here. It has been more than a little bit since I last shared a video, and I'm honestly not 100% sure where I'm going with this, but I thought I needed to sit down and spend some time, and I thought maybe I could also include you in on that. It's been a really tough season personally, and I've felt pulled in a whole bunch of different directions. And one of the things that I have not done is spent time here playing, and I'm feeling the effects of that. Excuse me. And so I decided today that I would sit down and I would just begin. This journal was actually sitting on my desk because it was the last thing that I worked on, and I decided that this would be a good place to start. So I began this journal, let's see, probably back in, not even sure, maybe, let's see if there's a date on here, May of, I want to say 2025. So this is a handmade journal. It's a printout from a kit. Actually, here's the same paper from a kit that I purchased, and I just put it on a piece of cardstock and then used some fabric on the inside and on the outside to create a little bit of a spine. And then I just bound it super simply, just with a quick pamphlet stitch. And I did add a little dangled doodad here, which I haven't done anything with. There's not even anything on the cover yet to identify it. But I created this because Meg Francis, who I have been following for a number of years and who used to do Junk Journal January and Junk Journal July, started a new thing on Substack that she called Catalysts and Curiosities. And she had a series of prompts that essentially included some quotes, 3 sort of elements to use, and then a color prompt. And then those were supposed to be sort of inspirations for you to play in your journal. And so I created this journal to kind of play along with those prompts. And I think I've done videos on some of these. To be honest, it's been quite a bit. So I was trying to, whenever possible, include the word that she used. And then I would capture somewhere, maybe the quote. It's really hard to read, but there is a quote on here. And also the date of the prompt, and then what the theme was, what the 3 elements were, and what the colors were. And so I would kind of put that in and then kind of continue with the notebook. And this journal was very definitely a junk journal. So all of the pages were just papers that I had. This was actually a piece of I think of a Daphne's Diary magazine, maybe. And then I just started adding to it and creating pages inspired by the pieces that she gave for that particular prompt until I ran out of steam. And interestingly, I just love this envelope with this little bit tucked in here. Interestingly, even though I don't tend to use a ton of pink, oh my goodness, now I'm severing everything, in my journals, this ended up being a very pink and kind of girly journal. I kind of ended up leaving this page purposely blank because I just sort of liked the blank space there. But very, very pink, very girly. And then, of course, as soon as I say that we're on a page that isn't very pink and girly, this was a new date, right? So this was May 16th, and some different elements. So here the elements were mark making, negative space, hand lettering. The colors were pink, peach, magenta, orange, and green. And the theme was noticing, and then a little bit of a snippet quote there. The quotes didn't really seem to do a lot for me, but the elements and some of the other items did. So this was the page that was in when I made the journal, and I just loved it. I didn't want to do anything with the page, so I used that as the inspiration for these spreads. And again, just trying to use the prompts to inspire the work that I was doing. And again, it's just so much pink that I don't, little mark making there, so much pink that I don't normally do, but really did kind of enjoy the process. So here the elements were line work, layers, and waves, and these were the colors. And yeah, so just little bits and pieces and things that I did and I tried, and some of them worked, some of them didn't work as much. But anyway, here's another one. So ink bleed, torn edges, image transfer, and then the colors were the colors from a pothos plant or pothos plant. Of course, this page really doesn't fit that, but really none of these pages do. I'm not sure why I ended up with lots of pink other than the base pages had that. But I just really, I enjoyed this journal. And so I had done, I think, this page, and then I pushed pause for a very, very, very long time. And I came back and I picked up with the 27th of June. The theme was play, and the elements were grids, alphabet stamps, and a zine, and the colors were whatever was on my desk. And a little bit of that is still sitting here. So I really wanted to do another translucent pocket, so I did that here. And then I made a little zine, included quote here. And there's definitely still room in this zine to add other things. I wanted to include the quotes here, but there's still additional space that I haven't filled. And I don't know, I may or may not fill. But it was this page, and I felt like the colors, they were supposed to be dictated by what was on my desk, but I also felt like it needed to make sense with what was opposite. And so fortunately, a lot of what was on my desk was left over from doing this page, so it worked out well. And then I just continued. This paper was actually from a stamp album, which I thought it just happened to be there, but I thought it worked really well with the idea of grids. And so I played with the grids. So these stamps here are from the original paper. And then I added in these other pieces to sort of tie in with this image that was there. And then I decided to play the same thing, but to do something a little bit more monochromatic. And in keeping with alphabet stamps, I used alphabet stamps here. And it's not really an alphabet stamp, it's actually just an image from paper, but I felt like it fit with that. And then I had one more grid, but I don't really want to repeat the same things that I did here and here. I'm not sure how I want to play with this yet, so I'm going to leave it. And this was also on my desk, and I liked the way it looked here, so I just sort of adhered it down temporarily. But I'm gonna walk past these pages and play again. So interestingly, Meg only did 2 more prompts, or at least prompts that I hadn't looked at. And so I grabbed one of them. This was from September of 2025. And this is obviously not her Substack page, it's just my notes. But the one quote that she had that I really felt fit just my creative process, this journal, and in some ways this my life right now. It's a quote by Paul Valéry. It says, "A work is never completed, but merely abandoned." And the elements were unfinished, crop, and pattern, and the colors were to revisit old colors. So I kind of felt like that was a good starting place. So I'm going to actually set that there so I can keep track of it. And I love this paper, and these colors were earlier in the journal. If I can find where they were again. Oh, no, I can't remember where they were. Oh, give me a second. I should have probably planned that out before I started filming, huh? Because I can't imagine that I covered up that paper because I love it so much. Oh, here it is. Duh, it's right here. So I sort of covered it because I had this in front of it, but if you take the translucent papers out, you can see it here. So I felt like this worked with this, but I also thought maybe this needed to be a little bit more of the greens and the purples and the yellows that I've used previously in the journal, rather than focusing as much on the reds, which is kind of what I did here, sort of the reds and pinks. So I looked at what I have on my desk right now, and I don't think these are by and large going to work, just because some of these I had pulled out because of the reds. This could potentially work, so I'm going to hang on to that. This isn't the right color. This also could potentially work. This maybe, and this. So actually I do have a couple of pages that could work that I will hang on to. I'll set these aside. And then I also had these little scraps over in the corner. And so I thought maybe I could potentially use those as well, although this feels a little bit too gray. So maybe not that. So anyway, I've got this here, and I don't even know if this binder clip is going to work. Maybe like that. For me to just, yeah, no, it's not going to work. Maybe like that, it might cooperate a little bit. Okay. So here we go. So again, I think for the moment, I'm going to leave this page alone because I'm just a little bit obsessed with this pattern. And I'm going to focus on creating something on this book page. And again, I want to pull out the purples, the greens, and then maybe use some yellow as an accent. So looking at my little stash here, let me see if I can move this over. So I had this little bit which kind of harkens to that yellow, so I want to find a place to use that. There was also this little snippet which has some of the greens and also the yellow. Again, I don't want a ton of yellow, but I thought that little bit might be fun. I also had this, which I'm a little bit obsessed with, maybe this way so that the purple feels more prominent. So I'm thinking I'm going to use that on here. And then I am going to try and stick with what's on my desk, since that is part of the point to do that. And yeah, so and then also it says pattern is one of the things, and I have this little bit of purple paper which I thought would pull out the purple, and it's got some pattern to it. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I also, one of the prompts is unfinished, and I love prompts like this because they can be interpreted so many different ways. I don't like the way that that's tearing. I really want to, can I do this from the back? I bet I can do this from the back. I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm not getting the white either way. I love playing with prompts and interpreting them. And so for me, one of the things about unfinished, or one of the things that makes something feel unfinished or raw, is torn edges. And so I'm intentionally doing that here. This little teeny tiny strip of white. Let's see if I can tear just that little bit off. Okay. So got this little piece of paper, and I actually don't want a ton of this pattern because I think it's probably too much. So I'm just gonna tear a little bit off, and a little bit too much white. Okay. And then thinking maybe I'll tuck that behind, so just a little bit of that pattern peeks out, and then maybe, again, I'm not really sure. I like that. Okay. All right, and then I want some text. I think I like the color of this with this brown. So maybe take a little bit of this text, and how do I want to layer this? That feels a little bit busy to me. I'm not yet sure. I think the text is, I like the black in the black, but it feels like too much. I'm gonna page. Hopefully I won't regret gluing all of this down, because again, I don't have a plan, but yeah. Okay, so liking the color that's going on here, but now I feel like I need some sort of a focal point, so I'm gonna ponder that for just a moment. Okay, so I had a thought. When in doubt, Tim Holtz paper dolls are always fantastic, so I think I'm gonna sort through these, but before I do that, I feel like this needs some words. And so I was looking at this digital, and this is from Amity Bloom, and I feel like this quote really sits for me right now. So I'm going to go ahead and gonna try and hang on to what's around it so that I can use this for something else. And I'm actually not sure right now if I want to use the quote. I don't think I want to use this as whole pieces. I think I want to trim this. So if that doesn't end up fitting as is, I could also play with this a little bit. So I could just have it be gentle with your own heart, or learning to hold your own heart, or the way you're learning to own your own heart. So there's a couple of ways that I could use that quote. So I think the next thing that I'm going to do is try and find a paper doll that works, and then decide what I'm going to do with the quote. So I think like some of the bigger ones, these guys are cute, but I think this is not a guy, definitely not a guy page. So we can set all the guys apart. She's really fun. I love her. I pop out the extra pieces. She is super fun. And she could work. She could definitely work. She's a little light. I was hoping for something a little darker, but I'm going to set her aside. Too big. She needs to sit on something. Yeah, that's not going to work. Another guy. Oh, now she could potentially work also. I'm going to hang on to her. Nah, I don't know why, but I don't like her. Maybe her too. Another guy. Another guy. All right, so I'm going to just go through some of these and come up with some that might work and then kind of audition them. Okay, so thinking about the quote and also looking at the page, I pulled some paper dolls to audition. So I pulled some smaller ones and then I pulled some larger ones. And so I'm just going to kind of go through them and see. So I grabbed this one just because I thought it was interesting, and I love her sort of little sassy look that she has on her face a lot. but I'm not sure that I like the squareness of it. So I think I'm gonna tuck that in here. So then I grabbed these 3 sort of larger heads. So I thought she was sweet, and I like the size. I think the color works well. So this is a hang on to. And then there was her. I just think it's too dark. And I don't like the way she's looking off to the side. And I also thought maybe this one, just because of the outline, but again, I feel like it's a little too dark. And then this one is too dark and too big, like it covers up too much of the page. So if I'm gonna go with a larger route, I think she is the one. And I do sort of like the wistful way she's looking. It sort of fits with being gentle. So she's definitely a contender. So then I grabbed a whole bunch of other small ones, and I know I said it wasn't a guy page, but he's a boy. So I thought he was sort of interesting sitting here, kind of hanging out. So he's interesting on the page, but I'm not sure he fits the quote. So we're gonna set him aside. I thought she was sweet, but she almost feels a little too tiny. And I thought, this little baby toddler figure also fit, but this color's sort of washed out. And again, kind of tiny, and like she's not quite as washed out, but she's way too small. Just saw another friend that sort of struck me. Oh, but she's got I like the mom advice, but I don't think I want to lose the boy. No, we'll just leave that. So she is just a little bit too big, and I think, again, too dark. Now her I kind of like. She feels a little bit like, your sassy friend who might be giving you some advice. So she's also a maybe. We'll hang on to her. And then I pulled these 3 just because I thought they were cute and fun. But she's too small and too bland. I don't think the color works. And yeah, same thing here. I like her. I just wish she was darker, because I do like the way she fits on this page, but I don't think this is the right paper doll for this page. So we've got this lady here who could kind of be our advice person, and probably I would put the quote down here. So sort of giving advice. I like that. And then this girl, I really do like the way that sort of frames her. And then maybe be gentle with I sort of like that. Just that. Be gentle with your... Okay, it's her. It's definitely her. Okay. So we'll set that aside. And then the last thing, before I glue any of this down, I want to incorporate some green. To bring in some of this green here. I have this, I guess this is pet tape. So I was thinking potentially about using this as my green element, since it's on my desk. Let me get these. so it's not quite as, now of course this will not be quite as vibrant once I take the backing off because of the tape. Yeah, I think that does a nice job of pulling in the green. So she's going to be pretty much on the end. So let me slide this off, and then since we won't see the stem, I'm gonna mark where those two things go so that when I peel this off, it sits. And actually, now I'm wondering, maybe, do I wanna? I really like how vibrantly green that is. I'm gonna just, how can I do this? Because if I peel this, it's gonna lose some of its pop. And I think I really like the pop of green. Now I'm gonna go ahead, just gonna do it. Okay, so we'll pull the backing off here. Okay, so I paused the video so that I could peel the backing off of this pet tape and get it down. And it actually, even with the backing not there, it actually turned out pretty vibrant. So I'm very happy about that. And because this is a little bit thicker, I am going to grab my art glitter glue and, oh, see, it's been a while. Okay, again, had to pause because it's been a hot minute since I used this glue, and it was kind of gunked up and not coming out. So fix that, and then we'll put her down. And then while she is getting herself happily affixed to the page, I'm gonna use a little bit of distress ink on, probably not the walnut though. Let me grab a different color. So maybe the vintage photo here. So just to make the edges pop a little bit. Yeah, so that it stands out a little bit more on the photo, since the colors are fairly similar. There we go. So you can see that they pop a little bit more. And then I'm also going to grab, so this is also vintage photo, but it's distressed oxide, so it's a slightly different color. And I'm going to go over these with the distressed oxide just a bit to give them a little bit more texture and help them pop a little bit more. So you can see it, the edge, maybe you can. So the edges still stand out, but there, yeah. Okay. And then I think, again, just because this surface is a little bit glossy, I'm going to use the art glitter glue on the back to make sure that it adheres. And There we go. Liking that. Okay. Now I just want to put a little bit of mark making here, mostly because I want this black over here to make a little bit of sense. So I'm gonna just take this pen and go around these words just a little to help them pop a bit, and then again to pull in a little bit of the black. Just do, oops, I'm knocking over my glue stick here. A little bit of mark making. So trying to create a little bit of a triangle here. Some simple, and then maybe a little bit there, and tiny bit there just to give it a little bit. So there. All right, so the one thing that I realized that I didn't do is I normally do some sort of a tag or an indicator so that I know that I've switched to a different set of prompts, which I haven't done here. So I'll probably go ahead and just make a little tag and attach it here so that there's something on this page. But I'm going to save that for another day and another video because this one's already pretty long. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I had fun playing today, and I hope you had fun watching. Until next time, I hope that you make a really great day.